Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO, Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who have been a part of our Outer Realm journey since the very beginning. So we love you, we appreciate you, and we certainly could not do it without you. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, the sonic surgeon, Dr. Snick, love him. He's the voice of the music of the outro and our intro that you just heard. So big thank you to him. Check him out on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, anywhere you can find great music. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, and he's always putting out some great tunes. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of our banners and logos here at the Outer Realm. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. See what he's got going on, because there's a lot. Well, it's that time of year again, people. The Outer Realm has been nominated for a third year in a row for the People's Choice Podcast Awards in the category of Best Female Hosts. Yay! Woo! I know. It's always just such an honor to be nominated, whether you win or not. Hey, just to be thought of is really, really awesome. So check them out again, People's Podcast or People's Choice Podcast Awards. Bit tongue-tied tonight. You'll notice I don't have my bubbly little compadre with me, under the weather. So unfortunately, we're just going to wish her well and hope that she makes it for the show tomorrow night. Now, tonight, for the very first time, the Outer Realm welcomes Kosta Makreas, and I really hope I got that. And he's going to be sharing his own personal contact experience, which prompted him to create a community of over 1 million people from all over the world who are going to come together and discuss. I guess they're going to come together with what's called, like, he's got so many movements, but the People's Disclosure Movement. And they're going to discuss how to use the CE-5. Let me get the banner up here so we can just see. There's quite a bit. So founder of ETLetsTalk.com, the ETLetsTalk community, the People's Disclosure Movement, the People's Love Alliance, and the Global CE-5 Initiative. Like, if that's not a lot going on, I mean, wow. But we've got all kinds of people chiming in already. We've got Dolly, Michael, hello. Yes, CE-5 is a great movement. And it's one of those things that people are, some people are on the fence with it, and other people are just like really down for it. So I'm really curious to see what Kosta's going to have to say about it. Hello, Beyond Being Human. Hello, Michael. Also, Antonia, hello. So we're going to definitely hit Folgers. I know. Thank you. So let me just see here. Kosta shares his own personal contact experience, which prompted him to create this entire movement. He is the founder of everything that I just mentioned. He's an international networker and creative artist working on behalf of harmonious relations between all life forms. See, I love that. He was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana, earned a BA in computer science, which led to a successful 4-decade software consulting career in the Silicon Valley. See, I love that. And here he is. Let's not wait any longer. And people, thank you for chiming in. Please remember that we have 7 platforms coming into one soundboard. Now, please also remember, we are on Roku TV. We are live there. There is no chat room on Roku. So if you're looking for one, you most certainly will not find one. But there's still another again, 7 platforms. So it's like 7 lanes coming down into one. So we will get to people as we can. And again, we really want to go with what is being discussed at the moment. So if we don't get to you right away, we will scroll back and we will do our best to get to everyone. So please have your comments and questions ready and join me in welcoming our special guest. Hello.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm finally glad to meet you in person after all the email exchanges we've been
Thank
having.
you. I know we were just like maniacs there for a while.
Yeah, but it's all for a good cause. It
It
results
is.
in this.
It does. It does. It's people don't realize like there's so much that goes behind putting together something like this. You have so much information to share, and I mean, I love it. I've been really excited to talk to you. I'm already getting questions coming in. So again, I'm going to come up because you have some friends here. Here always for you from Michael Nabe. So that's from Beyond Being Human and Antonia Farney. So I will do my best, guys, to read off as we go along because we have a lot of audio listeners, like millions of people listening. So if you hear me, chime off the questions. I know some of you guys can all see it, but there's a lot of people who can't and may be a little bit confused as to what the answer is about without a question. So where would you like to start? I always say humble beginnings because how does one come about to be the founder of so many amazing communities here? So I will let you take
I
it.
didn't plan this. I
Come
decided
on.
when I was young to go to school and get a computer science degree. I love mathematics, and I did that and had a
Right.
career in the Silicon Valley for decades.
Right.
Doing that, and that was fun and
Right.
educational. But if you had told me that I would be having this conversation, have a community in the People's Disclosure Movement of 1 million people worldwide,
Right.
and ETLetsTalk.com, and doing this kind of work, teaching people how to make their own contact and helping the movement along, to make this contact and to welcome cosmic beings who are here. Okay,
Right.
all of that really was not on the plate. And that's one of life's nice surprises. Sometimes
Wow.
when you ask the cosmos to put you to work, because you want to do something good for the world before you check out, guess what? You get answers.
Exactly.
and
Careful what you wish for.
yeah, and in this case, I'm happy that I got what I wished for, which was an opportunity to found and to grow this movement that I think is history making,
Right.
and that will positively benefit the future. And the fun thing is that it's not about me; it's about all of us being
Right.
able to be part of the movement as a group and creating the cosmic contact, together.
Yeah,
And
because
there's a
you
lot I
boast
can say
over like a
about that as a
million.
backstory as we go along.
Right. Oh, we're going to get into as much as we possibly can with a part 2 on the horizon if we have to. But yeah, you're a community. I mean, this boasts over 1 million people. Like you're really like head deep, I would say, in everything. You didn't just jump in with both feet. I mean, you're just like really, you have a really
Well,
great community of people.
oh yeah, and I really feel blessed to have met so many amazing people, some of
Yeah.
whom are probably listening in and some of whom I have yet to meet. So if you're out there and you think of yourself as being amazing, well, you are.
Right.
And if you've made contact, I'll do my pitch right now. Just come to ETLetsTalk.com, where the membership's free,
Mhm.
and you can become part of our larger community, so that we can do what I like to say, which is we're going to crowdsource. We are crowdsourcing
We
a
are.
people's disclosure, as
Yes.
opposed to the other kind, and we can talk about that because that's kind of timely news now.
Yes.
Today, with the hearings that went on in the United States in the Congress,
Yes.
in official capacity,
Right.
rather than in the people's capacity, which is really what I'm all about.
Right. Right.
And I like to say, Michelle, that everybody's got a story. I've been working in this community since 2006, so going on 16 plus years now. And everybody who comes to it invariably says a couple of the same things, which is, Oh my God. I'm glad I found a place where I can talk about my experiences. And
Right.
unlike my family, my partner, my work associates,
It's tough.
I can talk and people
Yeah.
won't think I'm crazy or try to fire me or ruin my
Mm-hmm.
reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing they say. And then the next thing they ask is, okay, I'm coming out of the closet here and joining this community. Is there anybody near me? You know, we're human beings, right? We're social animals.
Right.
So we want to find someone else to share
Mm-hmm.
a group. And
Mm-hmm.
with the map that we have on the website, as well as other resources that I provide to people who join up,
Mm-hmm.
we try to hook you up with other groups, people nearby. And if they're not nearby, then at least you can make what we used to call pen pals. They're now
Right.
email pals all over the world. You can find people to support you. And that's
Right.
what really this is about. It's a safe place, a safe community
Mm-hmm.
for people to tell their stories and to synergize all our efforts. Not just
I
one of us
love
making
that.
contact. There's thousands upon thousands doing it. And that's powerful. And I'll talk more why that
Oh
is.
yeah, because I already have like a lot of questions, and
Oh, well, go
I'm just
ahead.
like I just want to jump into everything. Well, I'm going to start off with your experience. What started it all for you? I think that's probably the best way to start because it's probably what started it for everybody who comes to you. You
Everybody
know?
has a different story,
Yeah.
and mine is a little bit more ordinary, but maybe not.
Oh.
When I was growing up, and I'm a gentleman of an advanced age, so
Mhm.
my youth was in the '60s and the '70s. My teenage and post-teenage years here in the United States in the Midwest,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and if you know me a little bit of history there, that was a pretty exciting time to be alive
It
with a
was.
lot of movements, a lot of social, political
Mm-hmm.
upheaval, and wonderful things and not so wonderful things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that affected me. That formed my youth. I was a political and spiritual organizer at the time. I liked
Mm-hmm.
to find other communities and organize things. And of course, we didn't have the internet back then, but we had
Right.
snail mail and things like that, and demonstrations of this and that. But as a young kid, very young, like I'd say before 10 years old, maybe 11, I was into astronomy, had a telescope. I read a lot of science fiction, everything I could get my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
I was into the NASA program, regardless of what you think about NASA now, and I know it's a
Mm-hmm.
controversial thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back then, we really did go to the moon. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let's get over that, right? And what was going on with the space program there captivated many people in my entire generation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the Mercury, the Gemini, and the Apollo programs. So my point is, Kosta back then was all about space,
Right.
telescope, science fiction, looking at the moonshots and all that. I picked up a book on UFOs again, sometimes when I was maybe 10 or 11. And it was a
Wow.
classic book. I've long forgotten the title, but I believe it was written by one of the contactees of the early contactee movement in the 40s, the 50s, 60s, and a little bit into the 70s,
Mm.
the people that preceded what we're doing now.
Yeah. Our
Um,
forefathers.
in that book, Michelle, there were the classic pictures of a saucer-shaped object with a dome on it and all that
Mm-hmm.
before you could do a lot of deep fakes, you know, before there was Photoshop, et
Right.
cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And though there were people that were faking things back then, I do know that there were genuine people having contact. That
Mm-hmm.
fired up my imagination. When I saw that, I was smitten. I go, I've got to know more. I really believe they're here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I kind of dropped that interest. And like I mentioned before, I had a pretty conventional life. I went to university, got my computer science degree, minor in math,
Mm-hmm.
came out to the Silicon Valley in the early 80s and had
Right.
a long career as an independent software consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Got married, had a couple kids, got divorced, got remarried to my current wife, Hollis Polk,
Right.
who I hope to bring on this program with you someday because she's also
Anytime.
has shared a lot of
Yes.
the experiences I'll be talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's my background. And in 2006, I got on the internet just to see what the words UFO in the Google search would produce. Try putting UFO in there. You
Right.
know, I don't know how many millions results you get now, but
Yeah.
back then
Yeah.
it was like drinking from a fire hose. There
Right.
was so much in 2006. What I did find was a group that was about 4 hours north of where I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, who made human-initiated contact, what we call CE-5, close encounters of the fifth kind,
Right.
which is the human-initiated, interactive. We call them in instead of just driving around and hoping someday we'll have a sighting or an encounter. Those
Right.
are close encounters 1 through 4 with
Right.
various definitions.
Yes.
But close encounter number 5, this group was teaching people how to do their own. And I said to my wife, I've got to go. I did not know that we can initiate the conversation. I want to meet star people. And you know what? Part of me was a little bit afraid because I grew up with all the Hollywood movies, all the negative,
Yeah.
right?
The Day the Earth Stood Still being a big
Yeah.
one too, right?
Although there were some positive messages in that particular movie, but yet in other movies and in
Yeah.
science fiction, things always didn't turn out well for humans.
No.
But I decided to go with a lot of excitement, a little bit of fear, and I asked my wife, you want to come with me? It's a week-long thing, night and day, and we'll sit out under the stars, and these people promise we'll make some kind of contact. She said, nah, I totally believe they're here. It's a huge universe, and go with my blessings. I support you. Have fun.
Be the guinea
But
pig.
I don't see what the UFOs have to do with my daily life. I've got a couple businesses to run,
Right.
and I don't see how they affect my daily life, but I do believe in it, and I support you. So anyway, I went, and during that week, I had 3 experiences that changed my life. I can talk more in detail about
Please,
those.
please. Yeah. The stage is
Yeah.
yours, Kosta. This is your show.
Oh,
Take it where
that's
you'd
nice of
like.
you.
Oh,
I wish all of
pleasure.
life were that, where just the whole world would say, Costa, however you want it, take it that way.
Yeah,
Because don't we all
exactly.
want that? No,
Wherever
but
you want to
thank
go,
you.
we'll follow along.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. That's very gracious of you.
Pleasure.
Um,
Pleasure.
yeah, I had 3 experiences, and I believe I may have, I think I successfully sent you a couple pictures,
Yes. Yes. Would you like me to show them?
at least one from those, as I tell the story.
Okay.
The
1
most,
second. I'll bring them up.
yeah,
Which
2
one
of
would
them
you
were the
like
most
first?
dramatic ones.
The one where you're just standing like this, or the anomaly?
Actually, for the first story, there is no picture, so I'll describe it as
Okay.
best I
Okay. You
can
let me
because
know
I
when
know
you're
that your
ready, and I'll
listeners.
get them ready. Right.
Yeah, yeah, and then I can launch into the other ones.
Okay.
Uh,
Perfect.
the first profound experience. Well, let me give some background.
Yeah, of
We were
course.
going out as a group every night, maybe 40 or 50 of us, and we were meditating under the stars and reaching out with hearts and minds and intention, creating a group field of contact. And we were succeeding every night. We were seeing flash bulbs, what we call in the sky, zigzagging lights, varying intensities. And we learned how to identify what's real up there, what's terrestrial up there, I should say, which is important that you do because we want to what's the word, debunk ourselves.
Yes.
Because if you really try hard to debunk what you see and you can't, then
Mhm.
what's left over is even sweeter because then you know or you feel more that it's a real anomaly and that you've had some success. So
Right.
anyway, during the week, we were learning how to debunk what was normal in the sky: satellites, aircraft,
Mhm.
planets, stars, helicopters, other things up there. And yet, at the end, we were seeing a lot of anomalous things: orbs in the trees, like I said, zigzagging lights, being chased by fighter jets at times, which it's got to be real when the military just
I
shoots up
know.
there after this thing zips across the sky. 30
Yes.
seconds later, there's a kind of twin pair of fighter jets coming across in its path,
And it's just like,
taking
we
it very
got
seriously.
something. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
love
that's
it.
happened more than once over the years. So about the 4th night, after everyone had gone home, we were in a clearing at the foot of Mount Shasta in Northern California. It's a majestic 14,000-foot mountain. And we had finished as a group. Many people got in their cars. They went
Mhm.
home. It was probably midnight, 12:30, back to their lodging. But about 10 of us still stood around in this secluded, cleared area talking about what we had seen during that night, because there was
Mhm.
always something to talk about. Well, someone tugged on my sleeve on the right and pointed to the edge of the field where we were in, maybe 6, maybe 8 feet away from me. And slowly, at ground level, I was rubbing my eyes, like, am I really seeing this? Is it a trick of my eyes? But
Mhm.
what I saw was a round sphere. I want to say maybe 3 feet in diameter, was
Mhm.
materializing out of thin air, a couple inches from the ground,
Mhm.
and everyone was real quiet. We were watching it getting more solid and solid. It, to my eyes, had an opaque gray exterior. Couldn't look into it. Other
Okay.
people saw a different color. No
Mhm.
one could look into it that I know of, but there it was. This wasn't supposed to happen. Uh, and we believe from a message that we got that it was part of a larger craft, the larger part of which did materialize. All we saw was this little 3-foot sphere
Mhm.
sitting there. It's like, what's going on?
Right.
Looks like
Right.
we succeeded in calling something in. Well, what do we do with this now? Well, for
Right.
the next half hour, uh, we looked at it. Nobody took a picture that I know of. But what's interesting is that one of the gentlemen from across the circle suddenly spoke up to all of us and said, um, I just got a telepathic message from the beings inside of this little craft. They tell me that they're scientists. They've come to Earth to experiment with on the human aura, the human energy system.
Right.
So I thought, great, we're lab rats, you know,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit
Oh,
higher on
a
the scale.
horrible way to look at
No, I'm
it.
being a little facetious, but
Right.
really what I was thinking was this makes sense to me because I'm a scientist. This is a scientific exploration. We humans do
Yes.
this. Why wouldn't other cosmic civilizations?
Right.
And none of us felt afraid. There was no fear or no vibration at
Mhm.
all. This thing was silent, no wind, no nothing. And so the
Wow.
message that they were scientists was kind of comforting to me. I thought, okay, this makes sense. We're
Mhm.
dealing with some intelligence here. Let's
Right.
see where this goes.
Right.
Well, the woman standing next to me, I call her Gloria, not her real name, had become a friend of mine, a really good psychic. And I turned to talk to her as this thing was floating there and all the rest of us were hushed and standing around. But she was silent with her eyes closed. She was standing stiff as a board, straight up with her arms out. And I know your listeners can't hear this, but her arms out at a right angle
Oh, they
for a
can
whole
hear.
half hour,
Yeah.
not moving, not responding,
Right.
but standing there. And
Right.
so
Right.
I thought to myself, something's going on with her. I don't want to interrupt it, but if
Mhm.
she shows any signs of distress, I'm right
Right.
here, as is everybody else, to help
Right.
her.
Right.
Well, after half an hour of us standing around and whispering and looking at this thing and watching her standing there not moving, she kind of came to. And after we determined that she was okay, she said she was a little bit disoriented, but she was okay otherwise. So I
Wow.
asked her, okay, what happened? Why
Yeah.
were you like this? She said that she had been approached telepathically. Now, again, she was a good psychic. So she got a telepathic message from one of
Mhm.
the beings inside this small sphere that was part of a larger
Yes.
craft. And the being asked her if it could merge with her to study her energy system.
Mm.
Now, I don't know about you, Michelle, but a lot of people would run away with their hair on fire at the thought of saying, "Yeah, go ahead and merge with me."
Not this kid. I'd be like, "Yes."
Well, some people would and some wouldn't.
Yeah. Oh, I would always have said yes, believe me.
Well,
But
I'll tell you,
yeah.
I give Gloria credit because
Yes.
what I would have done is what she did, only she did it far better than I could have. She negotiated with it. And again, this was all silent. None of us knew this was going on because it was telepathic with her. All we saw was her standing there, not moving,
Mhm.
wondering, what's going on
Mhm.
with her. But she was having a conversation. She was having a negotiation. She said yes to the being, you may merge with me, but I have 3 conditions. The first condition is that I remain aware of my surroundings.
Mhm.
I don't want to be knocked out and not know
Mhm.
where I am or whatever. And the
Mhm.
being agreed to that. Her second
Mhm.
condition was that number 2 was that the being leave when she told it to leave,
Right.
like I am superior in my space kind of thing,
Right.
and rightfully so.
Right.
And the being agreed to that. The third condition was no messing with my generative organs, my sexual organs, no probing and stuff around there,
Right.
verboten. And the
Right.
being agreed to that. And
Right.
uh, during that half hour, then whatever energetic experiment it was doing is what was going on, and she was really silent. And at the point she got a little woozy and unsteady on her feet after that half hour is the
Mhm.
point where she had said to the being, okay, leave, go.
That's it.
And as
Yeah.
she finishes her story, I looked at the sphere that was floating there, and it started dematerializing slowly, like just doing a fade out. You
Mhm.
know, no drama, no vibration, no heavenly music, no crashing cymbals, no nothing. It
Right.
just faded out and was gone. And I'm sitting there going, WTF, uh, this
What did
should
I
not have
just see?
happened, because in my
Right.
physics classes, what I learned was that was not possible.
Mhm.
But suddenly the box opens up, you look outside the box and you go, if you're me, I know I experienced this. Even if I didn't have 9 other witnesses, I would still believe it. And I know what I know, and
Mhm.
I know what happened to my friend here. I've got to rethink everything, because if this can happen to me after just sitting in a circle and meditating and opening up and wanting contact,
Yeah.
I'm nobody special. Anybody can do this. So
Right.
that's at the point where I decided that I would start organizing people on the internet to teach uh, what they call CE-5 protocols to
Right.
make their own contact. And that's the precursor, the beginning of the People's Disclosure Movement,
Right.
which really is nothing but thousands and thousands and thousands of people making their own contact and sharing it with each
Yes.
other.
Right.
Well, in that moment, that's what changed my life, was having that experience, uh,
Yeah.
knowing that I wanted to take it further.
Right.
Um,
Dolly says that ET was remoting you. She's also like an aware contactee experiencer. Like she's very, very like, I mean, pretty much at will. So this is
I
a person you
understand
want
that.
to get to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. There's a lot of different modalities, like my friend Ray Hernandez, he and his team have written books about contact modalities,
Yes.
not
Yes.
just with UFOs, but other paranormal experiences. They're all
Yes.
part of one consciousness that we have, just reaching out in different ways, but it's all
Yes.
one thing.
It's
So,
pretty wonderful, isn't it?
so yeah, they remote viewed us. But
Yes.
here's the second thing that happened that week that was, again, nothing in my life prepared me for that.
Mhm.
Every morning during that week, it was my habit to call my wife back home and share with her what we had experienced the night before. I was like a fifth grader, just real
Yeah.
excited, because finally this was coming true for me. This was not somebody's secondhand account like I
Yes.
had heard. I had friends along the way and during the years who had flyovers of craft that stopped
Right.
their car with beams coming down and rotating lights underneath and no sound. Classic stuff. They were never harmed,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
real up close encounters that people that I trusted told me about.
Mhm.
But once you have your own, you go from being what I call a believer into being a knower, and nobody
Mhm.
can take that from you. Then I just know what you know.
Right.
So I was describing to my wife every morning what we had seen the night before, new stuff, old stuff. And then about the fourth morning, she stops me and says, "Wait a minute, before you get into this, I've got a story for you." And I thought to
It's
myself,
like, what?
I'm going,
Yeah.
I thought, what could be cooler than what I experienced? Right. No ego here.
Right.
No, but really, I thought, I know her, and she would not have stopped me if this was not something worth stopping me for.
Right.
So she said that the night before, here at home in our bedroom in the San Francisco Bay Area, she had turned off the light and was just, she puts it, scooching down into bed. That's a great verb. Scooch, I scooch, you scooch, we all scooch. It's
I have to
slang.
remember that spooching. It's
Yeah,
like a buzzword. I like it.
that's a nice buzzword. Yeah,
It
probably
is.
very dated. Um, but she was scooching down into bed and had, like I said, turned off the light. And you need to know that she's a professional and has been for many decades, clairvoyant,
Right.
psychic, and telepathic. But what I'm about to describe, that she described to me, was what she saw with her physical eyes, and she
Right.
has very good night vision, so
Right.
she didn't need any light. So the light's off. She's getting ready to scooching down into bed, and there, at the foot of the bed, are four, maybe five beings, 3.5-ish feet tall, staring back at her at the foot of
Oh,
the bed. They had large heads. They were white, translucent. She couldn't
mhm.
make out many details of the face. I think she said they had large eyes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a slit for a mouth, maybe something like that, but couldn't see much more.
Mm-hmm.
Slender necks, shoulders, slender arms, part of a body, and the lower half of the body was occluded, was hidden by the edge of our bed.
Yes.
About 6-7 feet from where her eyes were. She couldn't see the lower half.
Right.
So we surmised that they were physical enough that something physical like a bed could hide them. It's not
Yes.
like they were transparent and could shine
Right.
through it or something.
Yeah.
But there they were, and she was shocked and couldn't say anything. She was not afraid
Mm.
because she said that as they looked at her, there were waves of love coming off of them onto her. She
Mm-hmm.
had never felt so much love.
Mm-hmm.
So even though she was surprised and shocked, she wasn't afraid. Who can be afraid of that much love, is what she says.
Right.
And she
Right.
heard in her mind in the sing-song way, "Who are you?" To this day, we figure they found me up at Mount Shasta doing my
Oh, you
thing with
were
the
at Mount
group.
Shasta? Oh, God,
Yeah.
that explains everything.
Oh, right. I didn't mention Mount Shasta. Okay,
Mount
I should have.
Shasta, no. That's just an instant CE-5 waiting to happen.
Yeah, yeah, really. Just cross the boundary into town, and
That's
you didn't get
wonderful.
mugged
Yeah,
by some object, I guess.
I love it.
It's not quite that yet, but it could be. Yeah. So they asked her, "Who are you?" And we figured that they found me making contact in Mount Shasta and followed my energetic link
Mm,
back to her,
right,
and they're kind of wondering, why is there so much energy that this guy's putting towards this person? So
right.
their question, "Who are you?" She didn't think of, for a while, they just stared at each other, and she thought she should say something. To this day, she wishes, what she asked them rather is, "Where are you from?" And to this day, she wishes she instead had asked, "How did you get here?" Because she's an
Right,
engineer, and
right.
would love to know the propulsion methods and the formulas the way that I would. But no,
Yes.
she asked them, "Where are you from?" And in that sing-song voice, and very slowly, they responded to her, and they said, "Ah, Arcturus." And that kind of ended it. They looked at each other a little bit more, and then they faded out.
Hmm.
She scooched into bed and went to sleep. And a lot of people probably couldn't handle something like that. I mean, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but just
Hmm.
from the excitement, and
Yes.
like, you want to stand on a rooftop and tell the world or not.
Hmm.
Uh, but she went to sleep and knew that the following morning she'd be telling me that story, as she did.
Right.
So the next thing she asks me as she finishes the story is, "Arcturus, is that a place?"
Hmm.
Now, she had been a NASA geek when she was young, but not really into astronomy.
Right.
And so she didn't know that Arcturus, I explained to her, yeah, it's a hyper red giant in the constellation Bootes.
Hmm.
Pardon my Latin. I
That's
didn't take Latin.
okay. I'm with you.
Bootes. But yeah,
Yes.
it's a place. It's a hyper red giant. And if they said they're from Arcturus, then
Hmm.
that's astronomy 101. She said,
Right.
fine. And the next thing she says, now this thing is very real for me. Next year,
Mm.
I'm coming with you.
Wow.
And to this day, and I'm doing it now, I want to thank my Arcturian friends
Right.
for showing up, because that was her life-changing experience in terms of having something that she really had no imagination for. This is
Right.
a woman who fell asleep at the first Star Wars because science fiction bores her.
Right.
She fell
Right.
asleep through the whole movie. But
Wow.
she's not the kind of person who's wishing and hoping all her life and fantasizing that she'll have some kind of, UFO experience. No, not
Right.
at all. But yet,
Right.
this thing happened to her, and she felt it was even more genuine because she had not wanted it to happen. She had never thought about it, but it happened, and now she
Hmm.
became a knower instead of
Hmm.
just a believer.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
So
it's fantastic.
yeah, that cemented the whole thing. I mean, I had my own first experience up
Hmm.
close and personal. My wife had hers,
Hmm.
and then I had a third thing happen that week, which, and the good things come in threes.
Of course, always.
Yeah, yeah. The the three things rounded out my whole experience of the week. And by the time I got home, I knew what I had to do. I had a day job as a software guy, and that was great. But uh, in the evenings, it was time to get on the internet, find other people like myself, organize groups, create networks, and tell people, if I did this, I'm nobody special. You can too. And there's a reason about 3-4 years later, and I'll explain that too,
Of course.
why I felt the impulse to start organizing people. That there was a deep reason and a direction for that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm explaining, the next thing is you have the picture. I'll tell the story and then you can show the picture.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
the org one.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
During the week, during the breaks, as things were, as dusk was falling, and we were outside as a group doing our meditations, then we would have breaks. Someone came up to me with a camera and said, "Hey, look at this picture someone just took of me with a forest in the background. You see those two things? Those are what they call orbs. They're new things that have started showing up in people's pictures." And I thought, I've never seen this before. It looks kind of cool. Orbs. How do I get some of my own?
Right.
So I posed at the edge of the clearing there. I had my friend take a picture of me, snapped it, looked at it, nothing, not a zip. So I was disappointed, but then I thought, let's try again. So I posed again for a picture there at the edge of the clearing, and just before my friend clicked the shutter, I had this playful inspiration. I put my right hand over my heart, and silently in my mind, I said, "I invite any beings of light on planet or off planet to join me in this picture. I love you." And then my friend clicked the shutter, and as my friend clicked the shutter, I thrust my arm out to the right, kind of like in a ta-da gesture.
Right.
I was going to have fun with this. I figure I
Yeah.
got nothing to
Yeah.
lose. So I did ta-da, and then I asked my friend, "Well, did I get anything?" And he said, I asked, "Did I get a couple?" He said, "A couple thousand." And if you can show the
I
picture, the
will.
picture's
Okay.
the
Give me
result of
1 second.
what
Let me go
happened.
share screen. Go to the window. Here we are. Share. There we go.
Yeah, that's me, the guy
Yes.
in the middle.
With just a couple thousand of your closest friends.
Yeah,
So,
really. Now, for
right.
people who are just listening in, what you see is me standing there in a with a dark background on this kind of like semi-grassy field.
Right.
But I've got both my arms out, like, here it is, just really normal. But
Right.
around me are what must be hundreds, if not a few thousands of orbs, different sizes, different intensities. I look like
Right.
I'm in a bubble machine or something, like someone has inserted me and I'm just all
Right.
over.
And has
Now, I have
anyone
to
tried
say
to
that
debunk this? Because I
we,
mean, the
we tried to
debunkers would
debunk this.
say, oh, it's dust orbs, or it's moisture, or it's pollen, or everybody's got well, it's one of this or this or this. Have
Yeah.
you come across anybody trying to diminish your experience?
Oh,
I
yes, of
guess.
course.
Right.
Of course. Well, the thing is, we tried to diminish my experience in
Yes.
the moment. We took
Right.
other pictures of each
Yes.
other, of myself, and there was
Right.
nothing after
Wow.
this.
I
We
love
threw
it.
dust up in the air. It wasn't raining,
Yeah.
so it was no humidity in the air.
Right. Right.
We used different cameras, and we could not replicate what you see here.
I love it. Yeah.
So I stand by it, and
Yes. Yes. Yes.
in the ensuing years, I've seen other people who are quite serious about this and who make a study of it, also producing really phenomenal thousands of orbs types of pictures like this.
Right. Well, that's energy too,
Yeah, a lot of
That's just
energy.
it.
And what's cool is when I got home, I'm able to talk to my spirit guides because my wife helps me. She does that kind of channeling. I am
Right.
telepathic and I will listen to them on my own, but it's so much easier because she's better at it than I am. So I dialed up my
Yes.
spirit guides and I said to them, I asked them, "Hey, I had this experience. I've got this picture. Was that you?" And they said, "Yes, that was us on planet and off planet." And they
Oh,
advised me that I should keep a hard copy of this picture,
right.
fold it up, keep it in my pocket. And whenever I felt alone, lonely, depressed, down and out, they said I should pull it
Mm,
out, look at it, and remember that I'm never alone.
never alone. Absolutely
And
not.
so when people join ET Let's Talk, part of what I send to them as they join the community is this
Mm,
picture with the story and with
right.
the assurance that if I'm never alone, then neither are you. You know, we
Right.
just have to open up and ask for it. And every now
Hmm.
and then we can get a physical representation like a picture like this that
Right.
we do really indeed have a lot of company. And yet they have many other ways to contact us. But a
Right.
picture is worth 1,000 of those words. And I treasure that picture and I
Right.
share it
Right.
with people.
Yeah. I think it's
And
great that you have that memento. It just feels like you're being embraced, by all of this incredible energy. Especially if you're trying to replicate it and you can't. That to me, if it's environmental, you will be able to replicate it. And if you can't replicate it, it's just not an environmental thing.
and in ensuing pictures over the other years, we would catch other orbs, but nothing like this. And they
Yes.
started appearing for other people. So
Very
either
nice.
we're all having mass hallucinations all over the world with this, or
Yeah. Right.
but I do agree that people should debunk as much as they can,
Yes.
because prepare yourself. Not everyone will believe you, and
Mm, mm,
the better prepared you are, the better you can defend uh, the experience that you had.
right.
And I treasure this, and believe me, I have used it. When I'm a little
Right.
down, I look at
Uh-huh.
that and I go, "Hello, folks. I could use some help here with ABC. How about it?"
Right.
And
No,
they're friends. And
I
again,
I
I'm not the
love
only
it.
one.
I love it. Let me catch up to just a few things here. Jenny Mashburn, may I ask what year this was? This is
Two,
amazing.
2006.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Tara Dolly says the system that you were talking about is in the Zeta Reticuli.
Which system?
I
The
guess the one you mentioned. This, yeah, the
Arcturus?
Arcturia.
Um,
Is
I'm
it?
not so sure. What I remember, and this is my astronomy going back way too many decades.
Right.
It was Butte's, but that's easily identifiable. So if
Yeah.
people want to go look up Arcturus,
Right.
uh,
Okay. There we go.
yeah, you can look there.
That's just good. Already, it already eluded me. Pauline says we'll attend my very first CE-5 Acosta in India in July. So excited. Polly from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi,
Thank you.
Polly. Nice to see you on the picture there. I
There
look
we
forward
go.
to seeing you there. And that's
Um,
something I want to talk about too along the way is the
yeah.
retreats, the two retreats that I and ET Let's Talk are doing this year in person.
Yeah, I want to cover everything. I'm going to get in and just come up to one of our first questions before we get too far ahead, because this one's for you. I have a question with Gaia introducing a series. Now, the types of aliens that are already known, like the Palladians and the Greys, are they indeed, in your opinion, I'm going to say, actually living here on Earth?
That's a great question.
This one
In
is
my
all yours.
opinion, and with some personal knowledge, I can say yes. I have met on occasion. Uh, it depends on who you believe and who you're listening to. I am
Mhm.
not an authority on which ones are living on Earth.
Right.
But I will say that in the contacts that I have had with them, I have been told that some of them are so alike humans that they could pass you on the street and you would never know. And I know people who've had those kinds of encounters, people who I trust,
Mm,
and that they're here by their thousands, if not a few millions. And they may be from different systems. Uh,
mhm. I would agree
all I
with
can
you on
say is
that.
if I were in their shoes, and I'm not, this is above my pay grade, but
Right.
if I were contacting a planet-based culture and I looked like one of them, I certainly would want to maybe immerse myself in the societies
Mhm.
and get to know them a lot better that way.
Mhm.
So it's something that I would do, and I'm imagining that certainly other cosmic civilizations are able to and
Mhm.
are doing that.
I would agree with you. I would. I mean, we're not the first. I always say we're not the first kick at the can at civilization on this planet by any means. We're probably at least the third or fourth. So I'm sure there are many here amongst other planets. It's a big world, and we barely just touch on it
Barely.
as a civilization, right? So
Well,
it's-
you just, even if you follow the like the Webb telescope and the Hubble, and
Mhm,
which I love to do, and I recommend that people look these up on their websites. Every
mhm,
day, astronomers are discovering exoplanets. Some of them are
right,
in what's called the Goldilocks zone, which would be the kind of zone that would produce life as we know it. But of
right,
course, I believe that there's also life as we don't know it. So it doesn't always have to be in the Goldilocks zone. But my
right.
point is, they're discovering planets by the hundreds,
Mhm,
and they're extrapolating. And these are just the serious materialistic astronomers. We're not talking about people who claim to have ET contact or anything, but they're
mhm,
just looking through their instruments, doing the math, extrapolating, and saying there are literally billions of planets out there
right.
in our Milky Way galaxy alone, and our galaxy is one of hundreds of billions.
Yeah,
It's unfathomable,
absolutely.
and the human mind cannot wrap itself around an
Mhm,
immensity of that kind.
I
Um,
agree.
who are we in our ego to assume that we are the only life in this vastness?
I
Uh,
think it's just we've been conditioned to believe that, like the ancient people lived so like harmoniously, and we're in full contact with beings from the stars or here, you know,
you're
just to,
right.
comes the whole Roswell thing. All of a sudden, everything changes. And it's like, no, no, this never existed. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of seeing out of place artifacts. I'm kind of seeing petroglyphs. I'm kind of seeing all these monuments. So
No,
God
you're
knows.
absolutely right. They've been around a while, thousands of years, and there is a wider public now that is accepting that.
Yes. Yeah.
When I was growing up, you really had to keep your mouth shut because you were thought to be Looney Tunes if you spoke up about life.
It's true. Yeah. It's
But
true.
thankfully, the decades have passed. Series like Star Trek and all its permutations, Close
Mhm,
Encounters of the Third Kind,
mhm,
E.T., and
mhm,
other positive movies have
mhm.
opened up the minds of succeeding generations, so that now I look at Gen Z, the
Yes.
youngest generation at the moment, to have a label. There'll be another one after it, of course,
Yes. Yes.
but a lot of those young people are just saying, yeah, of course there's life. So we're starting
Yeah.
off from a baseline now of course there's other life.
Mhm.
And these
And
are
it's
particularly the
accepted.
people I would like to reach,
Right.
uh, because they're the most open.
Right. Right. No, I agree. And you said one key word that I'm glad you said, and it's positive, because there's just so much that there's so much rhetoric out there, and there's just so much media and fear-based media, false flag media, that sort of stuff out there that people do tend to pay attention because we are very conditioned. But like I said, everybody's got one of these now, for the most part. And you can't just hide things anymore.
Right.
And I think, you have governments all over the world and militaries going, if you can't beat them, join them. Because now the technology that they use to track us all is also the same technology that is helping us as individuals capture and experience pretty phenomenal things out there.
And I want to, exactly to your point, I agree with everything you said there, Michelle.
Mm,
Um, you have a 1 minute video that I sent to
I
you
do.
that was captured on an old iPhone, maybe iPhone 8. Uh,
Wow.
whatever,
Okay.
well, whatever was current in 2017.
That'd
I'm
probably
I'm
be
not up
maybe
on all.
even the 7, 6, I know.
Let me
Okay.
give you the backstory,
Please
but
do.
I
I'm
want
just
to
gonna get it
illustrate your
loaded up.
point. Yeah,
Okay.
that
Okay.
we were at ET Let's Talk. Usually has three. This year it's two in-person retreats where we meet with people. We sit under the stars and we train
Mhm.
people how to use their psychic powers. We all have them,
Right.
and their hearts and their minds to make contact. And we have all kinds of experiences during the week that we do those retreats.
Right.
Well, in Joshua Tree, Southern California, in the desert, in 2017, we had one of those retreats, and it was a really productive week, especially productive week for making contact.
Right.
The video that you're about to see was one of those experiences.
Right.
I was looking in the low western sky, the desert sky, and I watched, and I'm making a motion here that people will be able to see, but if you can
Yes.
imagine two flashing lights that we determined were, well, those aren't planes.
Mhm.
They were approaching each other from opposite directions, kind of like on a collision course in the
Mhm.
low western sky. And
Right.
just before it looked like they would meet and collide, they
Right.
circled each other. They performed a little loop-de-loop, a circle around each other, like, aha, faked you out. Look what
There
we're
you
doing. We're
go.
not airplanes.
Oh.
And then they
Oh,
pulled back apart
right.
and hovered, and they allowed us to video them. This
Mhm.
doesn't always happen. And this is why what people are about to see here, and I hope your listeners who click later on to be able to see
Oh,
the
yeah,
visuals here.
this goes on all kinds of video platforms as well. It just
Okay,
happens to
that's
be a
good.
lot more audio. But okay, let me just get this one here.
This is
Share.
1 minute of what we captured with a little bit of audio in the background.
Okay, let's try this and hopefully it catches the audio.
I'm not hearing any audio from it, but I hope others are.
Oh, yeah, I can hear the audio. Absolutely. It's definitely there because I'm listening to all of it. Guys, you have to go and check out the video version of all this. And of course, the link, it stays up everywhere you're watching it now. And it will be on Roku as a repeat as well. So, wow. So that's interesting. So what is
Well,
your take on
yeah,
that?
people will say, okay, there's a bunch of flashing lights there, but no, it's more than that. Like I say, you watch them travel, do circles, pull apart, and hover there, and you can kind of make out the superstructure. Other people have done some work with that video and can see like a shape, like you're
Almost looks
looking
like
edge on.
triangular. The one on
Yeah,
the
with
right almost looked like a bit of a boomerang triangle
yeah,
a
it's
little
it's hard to
bit.
tell in
Yeah.
the dark what the shape was, but it was
I couldn't
full of
tell
those
with the left
blinking
one though.
lights. Two of
Yeah.
those.
Uh,
Um,
Dolly's asking when was the date of the video? Sorry. That was
um,
October 18th, 2017?
if that's yeah, it
Yes, that's
probably
what
said
was
that
in
on
that.
the first frame. It sounds right.
Yeah.
October 18, 2017.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they don't always allow you to video them like that because during that same week, we had another starcraft that we believe came down to the ground about a half mile away, could see the shape, could
Mhm.
see the lights, and it stayed for quite a while there. And we're all up and exciting and looking at it with binoculars and all that
Right.
off in the distance. And when one of our people pulled out a professional camera and started to video it,
Mhm.
their battery gave out. The camera just went poof. And they
Mm.
go, that's a new battery. They put in another battery, fired it up, the camera, and that one died too. So they had some kind of a means of saying, no, we're
Right.
not going to allow you to do that.
Right.
However, a night or two later, you see what I just showed here, where they did
Yes.
show up, two of them. And
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
impressive. Yeah.
yeah, we feel privileged, and we feel there was a message.
Mhm.
And because here I am years later showing this as direct experience that we had,
Right. Right.
it's my
That's pretty
proof.
cool.
It's not something I have to believe from someone else. I was there with a bunch of other people
Right.
and watched this develop, and we
Right.
captured it with an iPhone.
Of
So
all
again, to
things,
your
I
point, Michelle,
I
everyone's
know.
got smartphones now, and
Yes. Yes.
that leads me into like the people's disclosure movement. That's what we're about.
Right.
There were hearings held today that disappointed a lot of people in the American Congress.
Okay. Do you want to let
I won't go
everybody
into.
know? I'm going to let you take it because then you can blend it into what you want to talk about.
Yeah, there are a lot of people waiting for the official disclosure from government,
Yeah.
and I can understand that, but the government and other institutions have been playing games with this cover up for so many decades that every now and then when they say we're going to have hearings, people jump up and go, okay, finally, official disclosure. This is the door that opens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get disappointed again. Well, that happened today. There were congressional hearings. Full transparency, I did not see them, but people that I know and trust did watch the whole thing and reported to me that there was nothing there. They called it a nothing burger, bits and pieces, breadcrumbs.
As
Nobody
always.
admitting,
Yeah.
nobody admitting anything more
As
than
always, it's always the same thing.
right.
You get hyped up and they give you morsels. They don't really give you anything.
And sometimes that has at least one positive effect, which is for people who are on the fence and the general public, when they hear that the government is, I guess, taking this seriously and holding committee hearings, and maybe they see a video like we saw a few years ago of an object caught by fighter pilots that went viral and all that, genuine stuff, I think, that does open up people's minds. People who've been on the fence, it does have a positive effect in that they suddenly say, whoa, I need to go talk to my cousin who I thought was crazy. Now I'm wanting to learn more.
My cousin with the
What do
tin
you think
hat.
about that? What's that?
Yeah, your cousin with the tin hat. Maybe he's not such a tin hat. Maybe he knows what's going on, right?
Now I'm going, hey, where'd you get that hat? Can I have one?
Exactly.
I want
I
one
love
of my
that.
own.
More and more people. So, right.
Well, and that's the official disclosure path, and a lot
Right.
of people are still waiting for that.
Right.
Well,
Right.
in 2010, 4 years after I had my very first experience at Mount Shasta, and after I had been organizing people on the internet
Mm-hmm.
around this topic, I had a communication from what I call my star friends.
Right.
It came telepathically through my wife and a little bit through me, because I had been asking them, what else can I do that will help whatever plans you have? I know it's above my pay grade to know the
Mm-hmm.
big picture of things,
Right.
but I know that you guys need boots on the ground, human beings, to do our part. I was asking, what can I do?
Right.
And they gave me a really simple request, which is create as many ET contact teams as possible in as many places as possible, as quickly as possible. And I thought,
Wow.
I get that. That's a numbers game. It's just sit down and do that.
Right.
I
Right.
asked them, well, why do this? And their response was, as more humans reach out to us and want to make contact, it gives us more permission because of their free will to show up in more cities. And they literally said, we will show up in more cities as more humans, as these teams keep building.
Right.
When that happens in more cities, more humans will see us, and that gives us more permission to show up in even more
It's
places.
like a domino effect. Right.
Right,
Just,
right.
yes.
And they
Yes.
actually had a phrase for it. They called it a virtuous circle. I love that.
That's nice.
And I
Yeah.
said, what's the end game of that? And they said, well, someday so many people will have seen us and believe in us, in our presence, etc., that from that point moving forward, that tipping point, when it's reached, moving forward from that, there will be no institution of authority that can ever cover up our presence again. It's like that genie's out of the bottle. It's like nobody's going to believe anybody who says, no, nothing to see there, swamp gas, balloons, whatever. I asked them later on, years later, did we ever reach that tipping point? Because I asked them back in 2010, when will that be? And they said, it depends on human free will, like how much people take to this thing.
Yeah, it's a
I call
tough
that the
one.
people's disclosure movement. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, that's a tough one. No, you're right. As to how people will take it. I mean, I think a little bit of that is conditioning, but I'm really pleased with the amount of people that are opening themselves up to all of this with respects to being more open-minded. But I have to ask you, I always ask everybody, so I'm not just censoring you out. Don't feel under pressure. People who talk about the CE-5 movement. See, for me, it was always very different. I could just think about it and I would have an experience. I mean, Russian scientists were doing this back in like the 80s. They're like, we don't have to go looking for them. They would just go to like an old base where they had a scientific lab, and they would just sit there and do exactly what you're doing. Call for them, and they would come in, and So this is something that's I think is something that's been going on for a long time. But now I think people are more comfortable in doing it. But do you ever feel that there's any possibility of danger? And I ask that because, like, you have good people, not so good people. Maybe you have some good, extraterrestrial races, and maybe some you need to be concerned about. What
No,
are your
I
thoughts that you might?
understand. That
Yeah,
question does come up, and
yeah,
it's look, everything is vibration in the universe, right? And
agreed,
it's
agreed.
frequency. And depending
Yes,
on where our consciousness is, we can scale up into higher frequencies of love and universal things, or down into more material areas. And we will attract through our frequency
right.
uh, life that exists at that level. So my answer to that is, of course, you can encounter negative things.
Mhm.
But in the protocols that I teach, I
Right.
emphasize that love of you,
Mhm.
your love, your connection to your group, if you're doing it with a group,
Right.
amplifying it, and creating an invitation
Mhm.
of love and goodwill is what will protect you. Now, having said that, if during that protocol people want to do their own individual protective kind of thing,
Mhm.
that's okay too, and probably necessary
Right.
for people to feel at ease,
Mhm.
because there is life at all different levels, and I
So this
would
is where
not.
meditation comes in then, to
Yeah,
connect with one of
yeah,
these levels sort of in a
yeah.
positive manner, right?
Different dimensions, different layers.
Yeah. Yes.
I have never had a negative experience in this way,
Mhm.
uh, but people who come to me that say they have,
Oh, wow.
I don't discount it and say, you're bad, you're wrong because I said
And they
so or
just
whatever.
didn't tap in properly or tapped into the
Yeah,
wrong
I can't say I
point.
wasn't there. I don't know
Yes.
what state of mind they were in or whatever, but I try to listen respectfully, and I
Mhm.
realize that I don't know everything there is to know.
Right.
I can
Still
speak
learning.
authoritatively in my life about
Yes.
what I and my friends have experienced, and that's what I'm doing here, is
Mhm.
showing you the pictures and the evidence of stuff we've
Right.
experienced
Right.
that I know to be true.
So I guess it comes down to where I'm going to put up all these questions because I was just about to ask it, which is, do you advocate learning to use psychic abilities? Because I mean, that's what would make you tap in
Aha.
to. Okay, there we
Oh,
go.
absolutely. And during the retreats that we hold, 6 days and 6 nights, the evenings, of course, are doing contact under the stars.
Mhm.
But in the afternoons, my wife, who's been a lifelong and professional, a clairvoyant and teacher of psychic opening,
Mhm.
holds classes to help every person there who's in the retreat
Beautiful. Yeah.
to identify which of the psychic abilities are there, and then we do exercises to help them develop that particular ability
Mm.
that is easiest for them, so that they can use that ability later on at night to
Mm.
enhance their contact.
Right.
And our star friends have many creative ways of reaching us. So the more that we open up our modalities,
Mhm.
the more opportunity we give them to find one of those doors in a
Right.
different modality to reach us. They will use telepathy, and I get telepathic messages.
Yes. Same.
Sometimes you'll get lucid dreams where they come to
Yes.
you. Sometimes physically you get a touch on the shoulder and there's nobody there, or a touch on the knee,
How
no
about full
nose.
on turn around and there's one standing in front of you? It's happened to me as well.
That has happened. I
Yes.
want to hear about that.
I agree.
That's a full on,
That
yeah,
is,
the
yeah,
full
I guess they
Monty thing.
call that what, a CE-4? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty physical. It's physical. It was solid. For me, I wasn't asleep, much like your wife, just kind of settling in for the night and just getting nice and comfortable. And I just, turned around and it's like, well, good grief, here you are. And for me, I just remember looking at it, and I tell the story 100 times, people just laugh, but I just remember looking at it and rolling over going, nope, not doing it, world over. I just was not,
Oh,
I
really?
wasn't ready. But weeks before that, I did put it out there. And I ended up with this huge flash of light that shot through the house, through the room, ricocheted off a mirror, went back out. And I mean, this is a big old manor house. There was nothing, no cars, nothing could reach up that high. So my experience is just, I guess we don't realize when you even just say, "Where are you?" I would sometimes just be driving and saying, "Where are you?" And I'd see a big, like a flash going in the sky, just like that. And I'd be like, "There you are." But,
Got it. That's happened to a lot of people. I think the
yeah.
contact is a lot easier than we make it.
Oh, yeah.
And like you've been blessed, I guess, to be able to just have the thought. You must have a really good connection, or maybe you're a good transmitter of that, of your
I
desire.
must have, well, it's been since childhood. And I just think that
Ah,
a lot of those memories started flooding back, because I wasn't always comfortable with it. Like your wife, you see 5 of them. I'd have been like, no, because you're in your personal space. You're supposed to feel that's your safe space. You're laying your head down where you're feeling very vulnerable. You're in bed. You don't have your street clothes on, so you can make a mad dash for the door. You just, you're pretty
yeah,
vulnerable.
yeah, yeah.
And right. And so I think that's where a lot of people think, no, I don't think I like where this is going. Like I'm supposed to feel safe in this space, especially being, I always call it the boudoir, but your bedroom, ready to lay your head down at night and your subconscious is wide open and
Right.
right. So that was a bit unnerving for me at first, but then I realized that experiences were happening in the house pretty much 24/7, any time of the day, which is all kinds of experiences. I mean, all kinds of experiences. So I became very comfortable because I realized there's nothing to fear except your own self.
Yep.
It's you that is putting up these boundaries and you are projecting that out. And maybe that in turn is projecting a form of like psychokinesis, just sort of doing crazy things. And it's a lot of times it's us, it's not them.
I'm glad that you shared all that because you're a great example of where a lot of people want to go, to the ease with which
Yeah.
they can make that
It's
contact.
taken a while, people. It doesn't happen overnight for some of
Yeah.
us.
And yeah, of course, it's a little disconcerting because we were not born and bred being told that this is possible, and so we
I,
have to break
I
through the barrier
was.
of our conditioning. And
It comes from my family. It comes from my family. It's they were always having experiences from the start. My grandfather's watching. My mother did work with the astronauts that went to the moon. Like it's,
really,
yes.
we want to hear about that.
I know, you sure don't.
Oh, I
And so
don't.
when they were training and stuff, no, they were in contact with them at the university. They were all in contact. It was interesting. So this wasn't something I was ever discouraged from. I was a child looking to stars going, "Where are you?" Again,
Right.
and probably got what I you for, but you don't always remember.
Well, and the question then, let's all assume that we all get really good at making this connection. Why are we doing this? And this is one thing I want to talk about. I mean,
Okay.
part of the equation is, oh, open up your mind, realize that it's possible, and then you start having communication of different sorts. However, you're able to get it. Well, what's the reason for that? And I want to go back to what my star friends said in 2010 when they talked about that tipping point,
Yes.
which is we're becoming cosmic humanity after we reach this tipping point, which, by the way, they told me a couple years ago that we did reach the tipping point in 2019. So
Wow.
I want to put it out there. The people's disclosure happened. We have achieved disclosure. And guess what, folks? We did it. Not me. We did it
Hmm.
because my star friends have said that the movement between 2010 and 2019, when the tipping point was reached and exceeded, the movement of us exceeded by far every expectation they had of it when they asked that it start in 2010.
Hmm.
So we blew their minds in a nice way, in a very
Right.
loving way.
Right.
And they're very happy. To this day, they say that our people's disclosure movement
Mhm.
is like a snowball rolling downhill that can't be stopped.
Wow.
And I
That's
want people to
a compliment.
understand that we all are part of that. We are making history. The People's Disclosure Movement is the world's widest and largest interactive contact ever between humans and cosmic beings.
Yes.
And we're all part of it. We don't need $10 billion telescopes to send out signals, or radio
You're the
antennas to send out
receptacle.
signals and
Right.
hope that we get something back that we can decode.
Right.
Man, all you need is a lawn chair, a safe space, even in your living room or by the forest or
Believe
by the
you me,
sea
all
or
it
your
takes is a
backyard.
mere thought, and you know where they're gonna pop
Or
up.
if you're Michelle, a mere thought as you're getting a sandwich from the refrigerator.
I know. It
Why,
could
did
be
you
just
bring enough
about
for
anywhere.
two?
I know. I kid you not. There was an experience where something in the middle of the day hit the house next door. We did not know what had happened. Something came shooting through the one window of the houses. The windows, the walls of this house were 3 feet thick. And it
Wow.
came shooting. The whole window went like this. A flash of something went right by us and hit one of the other windows on the other side of the house.
Wow.
And we got a call that night from the neighbor who was out of town, who got notified by another neighbor something hit her house.
Wow.
I mean, knocked right through the wall of the house. Was like,
Put a hole into the wall?
oh, and it knocked the wall, the whole everything inside. Yeah.
Oh.
And there was no tire marks. There was like nothing. It was she had a huge front lawn. It was a huge, quiet intersection in a quiet community. And there was just no, so I think, there's things going on out there, guys.
Well,
with
there
no
are.
rhyme or
What
reason.
do you think it was? Was that something to be frightened of then? Because I mean, it did do some
No.
physical damage.
Well, I think the house is in its way. Either that or it traversed through, like Dolly says, it came through interdimensionally. I completely believe this, and I think it might have shifted a car off, zigzag, but whatever it was, it hit and went through that house, came through my house, and went out the other way. And my friend and I were sitting there going, okay, was it just me? It's just something just really go through the
Did you
house.
see what I saw?
Pretty much. Nobody wants to be that guy. So we just kind of look at each other and go, did you see that? It's like, thank God it wasn't me who said it first. And it was. Right? Because nobody wants to, you're still kind of on the fence with that. But if that's happened many times where something has just gone, like huge things just go right across the road in front of the car. And I'm just sitting there going like, where do I live? Like, I need to reframe this. I'm an instant CE-5.
Yeah, you are. Hey, I want to party with you, cowgirl.
Right? You are welcome. You are welcome to come down. You and your lovely wife. We'll do it.
Okay. Yeah, or you come join us at the retreat.
Thank you.
You'll be our secret.
You're going to use me as a decoy, aren't you? Just throw me out there.
No.
I'm kidding.
As bait, maybe bait. Yeah.
Maybe bait. Okay, it's me a bait. Yeah, forget the decoy. I'll just get right in the middle of all of it.
Well, see, you are where I think a lot of people will be as we continue in our People's Disclosure Movement, making contact. The whole idea is to form relationships.
Yes.
In 2010, my star friends basically said, do not think of us as gods. Don't treat us that way. We are family. We're elder, brothers, sisters, and cousins.
That's a very intense statement.
It is. And
because
I'll tell you
the ancients
what.
did revere them like that.
I took that to heart. And not too long after that, there I was in my car driving in the fast lane, as usual. I was driving from the San Francisco Bay Area to Sacramento in California, where I was going to meet my wife. She was up there on business. So I'm alone in the car doing past the speed limit. Let's put it that way.
I'm with you.
And I was kind of in a zone, how on a long stretch of highway where there isn't much traffic, you just go in a zone, and every now and then you just kind of come to and you go, my God, who was driving this the last 15 minutes? I was just on autopilot. And it's a little scary, but if you're of a certain age and have many years under your belt driving, you've learned how to do this. That's the state I was in, is what I'm trying to say. Just driving along. And my reverie, let me say this. I was thinking about the encounter we had with my star friends, where they talked to us about being family and about creating this people's disclosure movement, all these contact teams, et cetera, et cetera. That was on my mind. But suddenly, in the lane to my right, my reverie was broken, and I just kind of like snapped out of it because a semi-trailer truck came zipping by me. I mean, it had to be doing 90 or 100 miles an hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers right now, but someone
That's
can
lots.
probably do the math.
Yeah.
They were going way
It's
too
about
fast. This was a
60.
full-on semi truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, it got my attention. Well, it was followed by a second truck behind it in the lane to my right, which was going slower. And by now, because of the first truck, I'm very alert. I'm going, whoa, what was that dude doing? Here comes the second truck coming by, but not so fast that as it passed me on my right, I could see the back on the back of the trailer truck, big old semi-trailer. There were these block letters written, a message, and it was like someone, if you've ever seen a dusty windshield in a car and you
Yes.
write the words "wash me" on it, and then you run away. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what came to mind. Is on the back of this, I saw these big letters, and I'm going, "Who did that?" I don't know
Right.
what they were written in, but you know what? You know what the letter said on the back of the semi? It said, "ETs are family," and then it was gone. It just zipped ahead, and I'm gobsmacked at that.
Completely.
Yeah, and I'm saying, okay, thank you. Boy, you guys have a way of getting a message across. I hear you.
And not small way either.
And not a small way. So the thing is, they want to partner with us to create a golden age. They have a lot of technological and spiritual technologies, gifts that they can share with us once we can make full open contact. And I do believe, and actually I know that part of their plan is to get as many millions of us open to this and forming our own relationships and making it a more normal thing.
Right.
Like you might do if you discovered like a cousin in a foreign country who's really cool, who's done a few more things in life, gone down the path a little bit more, and you just want to learn from them, ask them questions, get some guidance.
Right.
That's the way I think of this, elder brothers, sisters, and cousins.
Right.
So that I know that's what they want, for us to normalize this. And I tell you, Generation Z and the millennials and whatever comes after Generation Z are so open to this that I really believe we will have normal, full open contact on Earth probably in the next generation. And
I agree.
I know that for a fact. I don't know the year and a date, and anybody that gives you those is probably wrong.
But we're reconditioning our children, right? Like we're reconditioning the next generation. We've been conditioned to think a certain way. So are our parents, or even grandparents must have been more open to it, I would think. I mean, mine certainly were. But I think with conditioning, now we have the opportunity. And this is why I think what you're doing is really great, because you are showing people how to prep the next generation. And as they start having children and so on and so forth, it'll just naturally be, I think, within our codes that this is an accepted, union.
Oh, I love that, because Michelle, I've seen that in my life. Like I mentioned, I've lived long enough. I'm turning 70. I can hardly believe that. I wish it was 17
right
this summer. But
right.
In the 60s and 70s, like I mentioned, there were brave people that were speaking up, but in general, in mass consciousness, in the general public, you couldn't be open about this. And now, depending on where you are in the country or in the world, maybe you still can't in many places, but in a
people
lot
aren't
more
taking them
places.
seriously at all.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I've seen the change in my life from shut up, kid, to tell me your story. You had a contact, and now we have communities, and we're growing and meeting others across generations who are having this contact and wanting to make more and more. That's just been in my life. Imagine, as you were saying, Michelle, the children and the grandchildren of the Gen Zers now, as we move forward. This is
Right.
cosmic humanity, and we literally are part of the birth. And we,
Right.
as long as we do our job, which
Yeah.
is just to make our own contact,
Mm-hmm.
talk to our neighbors where we can, open up other minds, find like-minded people like like ourselves for support,
Mm-hmm.
and build community. And that's what Let's Talk is about, is the community.
I agree with you 100%. I'm I have to pause you for one moment though, as I have to do my job part of what I do, which is a station and sponsor ID. And I love our sponsors. It's not a job in a bad way. I just want to put that out there. But for those who are just tuning in, you are listening to the Outer Realm Radio. We're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3 and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, again, who have been a part of our journey since the beginning. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, who is the voice in music you hear behind our intro and outro. Check him out anywhere: Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, you name it, he's on it. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of our banners and logos here at the Outer Realm. So thank you very, very much. Also, you guys can find us on Roku TV. Check us out. And we are with the amazing Kosta. I'm French, so I'm hoping I'm not gonna butcher it. But is it Makreas or Makreas?
Oh, it's the latter. You
Ah,
you found it, Makreas.
okay.
You
That's
know,
that's
it looks like Makreas, and everyone
well, it's my
usually says,
French. I want to give it a flair.
well, give it a French flair if you want.
Just
Makreas.
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 Yeah, Makreas. Okay, perfect. So now we are back, and the stage again is yours. Now you've given us another photo. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to show
Yeah.
it? Okay, beauty.
Okay, and you can bring it up right at the end
Anytime
when I
when
love
you're
to do
done.
my introduction and the build up,
You
but
cue
the
me.
backstory is important.
Yes.
And yeah, in 2012, I believe my wife and I were with another group of maybe 40, 50 people under the stars in Mount Shasta, doing our regular contact during that week. Now, prior coming to that particular retreat, maybe the year prior to that, we had been befriended by a woman named Reverend Pam Plauché, wonderful woman who's on the other side now, but became a good friend. And Pam was quite the character. She was openly Pleiadian and talking about it and using Pleiadian Reiki and things like that, and was always talking about how her father was a commander of a Pleiadian starship, and that if we wished some night when we were doing our sky watches, our contact, he would buzz us, he would show up. So this happened here locally, where I live, with a group of 14 of us, where above the airport, actually, although it was probably high up in the atmosphere, not literally above the airport where the buildings are and all that, but it was in the area of this international airport, probably, like I said, out in space. But we saw a flashing starship, a light, different intensities, zigzagging, hovering, stopping, starting, disappearing, just putting on a 3-ring kind of thing to say, I am not an airplane. I am not a
Right.
helicopter.
The real deal. Yeah.
I'm the real deal.
Yeah.
And so we were thrilled that first time, and we went back to our friend Pam and said, hey, we had this experience. Was that your father and his Pleiadian ship? And she says, yes, it was. So fast forward to 2012, we're in Mount Shasta at a retreat with those 40, 50 people in a very dark area. It was pitch dark. Lights had been turned off of everything nearby, and our group was making contact. Pam had told us that her father would show up that night for this larger group. So we were excited and expectant, right? Well, late into the night, as we're all getting tired and sleepy, we had made contact. We had seen things, but nothing as dramatic as the signature experience that I described that had happened to us locally, where he's zigzagging and doing this and that. That had not happened. So I'm kind of like half awake at that point, tired. It'd been a long night, and I'm honestly a little bit disappointed. Well, suddenly from the middle of our circle, one of our friends who was a photographer and a videographer, he had a tripod there with a camera, still camera, and movie camera. He suddenly shouted out into the dark to all of us, "Hey, look there, between Hollis and Kosta." Hollis is my wife's name.
Right.
Between them, look. Well, at that point, I kind of perk up and I turn my head, and all I see is darkness. But he's
Mm-hmm.
real excited, and other people are looking over there, and I'm assuming, I don't think they saw anything, just dark. So we don't know what's
Right.
up with that. But we got up, we walked to the middle of the circle where he had his equipment set up, and we looked through his still camera. Now the camera had a little flip out viewfinder. So we lined up, Hollis and I did, with other people, and we took turns looking through the viewfinder to see what had our friends, the photographers, seen that got him so excited.
Right.
Well, when you look at where the camera was pointing, it was indeed pointing right at myself and my wife, where had been sitting. So it was lined up with us. But when you looked from that vantage point, from the center of the circle, it was still dark there. Your naked eye saw nothing. But if you lowered your eyes and looked at the viewfinder of where the camera was pointing,
Mm.
it was alive with a picture, a visual. And yet when you look back up, there's nothing there in the blackness, but you look at the viewfinder and it's full of a figure there.
Yeah.
And you can bring that forward and show what it was that all of
Coming
us
at you.
saw through the viewfinder.
There it is. There it is. Wow.
His name is, and I probably don't get the pronunciation correct, I think it's Hirate. And when I checked with my friend Pam later, we said, we were expecting him to show up in the sky like before. Was that him, like having a joke on us and like showing up behind us?
Yeah.
She goes,
Wow.
yeah, that was him. She called him father.
Wow. That is
And
interesting. Wow.
to describe to those people who don't see it, well, I've seen this so much. I would like a fresh pair of eyes and words from you, Michelle, to tell the listeners what
I,
we were looking at.
I wish I could actually give a comment, because I don't know if I'm looking at a craft. I don't know if I'm looking at a profile. It's extraordinary. Whatever it is I'm looking at, it really is. It's extraordinary. I would need to spend quite a bit of time with it, but
Mhm.
it's just I can't quite figure out what is on top as much as I can, just trying to catch all of this.
I'll tell you what I see. For people who don't see these colors, there's blues, there's whites,
Mm.
there's yellow, there's looks like a red orange, kind of
Mhm.
a brown. To me, this looks like a torso, like you're looking through a keyhole, so you're not seeing the whole figure. You're just looking at
Mm.
whatever the shape of the keyhole
A
reveals to
torso.
you.
Right.
So I liken it that way. But what I see is a torso with lapels, wearing a vest. There's big lapels. There's something along the torso going down. Looks like a vest in blue.
Mhm.
Looks like a shoulder. No legs are showing in this. But on top of that torso part, it looks like part of a head. Now, some people see a face in there. I'm not able to do that, but they see a
Mhm.
face. And then on top of it, what looks like brown headgear. Maybe it's a communication device or a teleportation device. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be like a side profile. You
Like
know
a
what I mean?
profile of a
Yeah.
humanoid.
Yes, 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 yes. Like I look at the side profile where I can see like eyes and like a nose, like down. Like this is what I see. I see more like here, so I could see part of what you're describing. So it is. It's quite interesting. Um, I would love to just play with it.
Well, go ahead, have
Yeah,
at it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's what's remarkable is everybody who lined up in our group saw this through the viewfinder, but nothing in the physical space with our physical eyes.
Hmm.
So somehow Hirate, this being, was able to manipulate or show up within the camera's
Hmm.
ability but not within what the human eye can do. I
Right.
don't know. I can't explain it. All I
No,
can
but
do
that's
is
what
show
makes
it
it
and give you the
so
backstory and
interesting.
say, "Hey, we were all sober. This was
Right.
this was for real thing. Many people saw it,
Mm.
and we had a
But
backstory as to who it was."
and that's what makes it interesting when you have other people experiencing it
Yeah,
at the same time, right?
yeah,
It's not just like I was saying earlier, nobody wants to be that guy. Like, did you see that? It's always easier when you have other people experiencing it and seeing pretty much the same thing. Sometimes you get people have different perspectives. We all see things differently. But the fact that you're seeing something at the same time to me is really fascinating. So, I mean, moving forward now, you've got a lot of these events coming up. Let's talk about that a little bit as we're
oh yeah,
slowly inching towards the top of the hour.
sure. Thank you. Well,
Pleasure.
for one thing, since 2010, when my star friends uh, asked me to start creating all these groups in as many places as possible, as quickly as possible, what I instituted then was a monthly virtual get together, wherever you are in the world, on a Saturday that I would publish ahead of time,
Right.
near the new moon, so that the dark of the sky would be dark. I would announce a date every month, and we've been doing this now. We're in I think, our 13th year of every month having all of our groups in our People's Disclosure Movement,
Right.
at least the ones I know about. There's so much going on, and it's grown so much now. I have lost track of how many groups there are or where they are, and I knew
Right.
that it would be that way, and it's good. It's gotten big,
Yeah, it's
but at
great.
least every month, for people who are on our social media site or are
Hmm.
members of our community, on the ETLetsTalk.com website, I make an announcement. I said the global CE-5 initiative this Saturday. This is the date. You've got all day, wherever you feel comfortable, at whatever time of day.
Hmm.
Use your imagination. Join us in your imagination as a network. Visualize it. Join with your heart, and let's all send up love beams of invitation to our
Hmm.
star friends that we're here and that we want to connect and we want to communicate. So we've been doing that monthly, and it costs nothing. You just
Hmm.
receive the announcement. And like I said, you've got the 24 hours of that Saturday to join in from wherever you feel comfortable, whenever time that suits you.
Hmm.
Additionally, every year we have in-person retreats that are much smaller. I like maybe 15 to 20 people. So
Right.
room is limited, but
Yeah.
we hold them in different locations across the U.S.
Mm.
This year we did skip the Mount Shasta one. I hope to reinstitute that
That's a
next
good
year.
one.
But in the Midwest, Bloomington, Indiana, where I graduated from Indiana University,
Very nice.
many decades ago,
Yeah.
we have a 6-day retreat there, and then another one in Joshua Tree in
Mhm.
Southern California, in the desert, but near civilization, near the town of Joshua Tree in the town of Yucca Valley. So
Mhm.
we're not out there, freezing at night at the mercy of
Right.
wild animals or anything. No, it's a
Right.
civilization.
Right.
Um, and during those 6 days and nights, we teach the contact. We form a group unity. We make friends. We have fun. People recreate during the day. I make the
Mhm.
retreats into a balance between personal time that you can have while
Mhm.
you're there to enjoy the area, doing whatever you like to do, biking,
Mhm.
hiking, swimming, shopping, eating, whatever,
Right.
but also balanced with being taught in the afternoons how to use your psychic abilities. I do some
Mhm.
lecturing on the People's Love Alliance, which I haven't had a chance to talk about tonight, maybe another night.
Oh, absolutely.
And I talk about the People's Disclosure Movement. People get classes, again,
Mhm.
from my wife. And at night, we do our contact. And
Right.
every retreat is different.
Mhm.
We have different dramatic things happen at each one every year. So I'm always looking forward to those for that reason, because
How does that
we
work when
see
you're in
standard
a
stuff, but we
city
also get
environment?
surprises. I'm
Sorry,
sorry, what?
Kosta. No, so how does that work in a city environment? Like, most people would think that you would have to go out into the, this will say, "Oh, go into the mountains, go out by the water," but if when you're in a town or a city, is as effective?
Yes.
Wow.
Here's the thing with city lights, yes, the sky can get washed out. So if you're looking for
That too, yeah.
standard stars and things like that,
Mhm.
it is limiting.
Yes.
But as I mentioned before, our star friends have a lot of creative ways. In
Okay.
cities, people have seen objects floating through a neighborhood, for example,
Right.
or underneath a cloud cover. The
Mhm.
clouds may be hiding the stars and everything, but
Mhm.
some craft will come and light up underneath and flash and then be gone.
Right.
So they're not limited by what we think they should be limited by.
Mhm.
And that's why, even if you're in a city, in your living room, you can have telepathic communication. You can have
Yeah.
your smartphones that are
Mhm.
powered off. This has happened to me, and they turn themselves on and they're playing some kind of cosmic song that's in your playlist that you haven't heard in years,
Right.
just playing away at that, or lights flashing and things like that.
I
Uh,
get dimensional things like music, weird chanting or Gregorian, all
is
kinds
that
of
what you get?
I get a lot, many, all times of the day. All times I'm awake.
Wow.
That's what I
Well,
said.
you're clearly hooked into the paranormal world, whether
I'm
it's
hooked in big time.
big time, yeah. And you
Yeah.
still seem like such a nice lady.
Thanks. I'm trying to hang on to my sanity, that's all.
No, very grounded. I don't
Thank
think
you.
anybody could be doing this kind of program for as long as you have, and not be grounded, you know,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
know how to take care of business here in the physical world.
I think if you push aside your fears, you can
Yeah.
pretty much accomplish anything.
Yeah, because they're ready to communicate. They want to partner with
Yeah.
us. And this
Mhm.
probably goes for interdimensionals. We haven't talked about angels, guides,
I love it. That's
people
a
in
whole
other
other show
dimensions.
I'm thinking. Yeah, it gives us some great content.
It does, and sometimes you can wonder, well, was that really ET or was that angelic? And we start tripping up over our words and our human concepts and the labels.
Yes.
Um, what I just tell people is just experience the experience. If it's comfortable and you're feeling love, you're learning something, maybe you're getting healed, you're opening up,
Mm.
whatever that source was, as long as it was a high source, it's good. Maybe it was ET, maybe it was angelic, whatever
Mhm.
label, but
Mhm.
pursue that experience. Try to repeat it, because life is in many dimensions, far more than what we are focused on here.
Mhm.
And part of our journey is to open up in a safe and constructive manner, into all of our
Mhm.
human potential. And part of that includes these cosmic beings. And you know what? Most likely, many of them have developed psychic powers and developed spirituality. They love
Mhm.
us. The ones we've contacted tell us in many ways. And I have other stories about that too,
Yes.
for another time. But
Yes, and we
I
will
want to
have another
emphasize, this
time.
is not just about the lights in the sky, it's about the love in the sky and the love on the ground.
Right.
Uh, we're building a new earth, a new golden age, and
Mhm.
they know, these civilizations that are visiting from wherever they come, they know
Mhm.
that we're at a very touchy time where life
Mhm.
on earth could end within moments, any number of ways.
Right.
But I think they've been down this path in their own civilizations, and they're here to help. They love us, they see our potential,
Mhm.
and they want to reach out and be those mentors, those elder brothers, sisters, and cousins, so
Mhm.
that we have a breakthrough planetary wide, not a
Mhm.
breakdown. And I'm all about the breakthrough and all about the People's Disclosure Movement doing that.
I love that. I love that. I love that you're just preaching so much positiveness with it because I'll tell you there's so much out there that's negative and people are so fearful because I mean I bring on people from all walks of life who've had all kinds of different experiences and some of them have been pretty horrific and others have just been like amazing. And I think it's important that people who put themselves out in the public try and show and have that due diligence of putting out there that no, you know what, it is about vibration and frequency. In fact, I think a lot of this music that I hear is it just changes all the vibration within my space like regularly, and I it goes to show you that something, is out there reaching out to all of us. There's a theory, well, that not everyone is meant to see them. That, contactees or experiencers, absolutely, you'll see them throughout your entire life, whether we recognize some of the signs, like you say. they're very creative in their ways of contacting. And I just think maybe some people are missing the boat on what they're seeing. They're just not seeing it or acknowledging it.
That's true. You learn to be very aware of your environment and what suddenly changes in it, because there may
Yes.
be a message there happening around you that you don't see.
Yes.
Um, and then
And
there'll
do
be
you
other
think
times, like I say, they touch you on the shoulder and they go, "I'm here."
yeah.
Oh, hello.
I know. I know. Do you think that some people are just meant to have personal messages? Like a lot of the people who you work with, um, do they go on to have a lot of personal experiences on their own after this?
Yeah.
Is it like
Yeah.
opening a
And that's
door?
the whole idea is I want to put myself
Yeah.
out of my mission, which is
Yeah.
to someday feel like I can walk away, like I did all that I could, because the organic growth of other people doing their own thing and taking it further than I could take it. And that's how we got to the tipping point, by the way, that organic growth. This
Right.
is a people's disclosure movement, not Costa's disclosure movement. We all own it.
Right.
Uh, we're all
Right.
birthing it. We're all
Yes.
continuing it. And everybody can make the contact that they want, maybe in different ways than the next person,
Mm.
but uh, it's not an exclusive club.
Mhm.
There may be those of us who are star seeds who come in better able to do it, but it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that other people can't learn.
Right.
Not every one of us is born as a genius piano player, right? However,
Right.
there's
The
million of us
savant.
that
Yeah.
take lessons and we
Yes.
get better or worse. I mean, we get better if we practice.
Right.
And this kind of contact is like that. The more you practice, you learn your psychic
Mhm.
abilities, how to reach out. The more you practice, the better you'll get at it, and you'll have more success.
And you're
So
providing a safe environment, a safe experience. You're teaching people how to ground themselves, how to meditate, how to do it in a way that's safe. Especially if people have thought about doing this, you don't want to go out by yourself and do it. And you're providing a safe place within a community of other people
that's
who are doing the same thing, like minds.
that's the goal. And someday I hope that everybody who shows an interest in this will have someone next door or in their own town. Just
Right. Oh, you're gone. I can't hear you. Um, you're muted. Unmute your microphone. So you see the little button at the bottom there?
found
There
it.
we go. Like, hello. Perfect.
I wonder how I
Oh,
did that. I
I
think with
don't
my
know. It's like
mind.
it's very magical. I know. I tell you this. I did not see you do that. So, but I like Donnelly's comment too. We're all connected. We all have the possibilities. Yes,
Thank you for that, Dolly. Yes.
yeah, I completely agree with that. So, in closing, as we're nearing the top of the hour, this is where you promote yourself and tell everybody what you have coming up.
Absolutely. First of all, come to ETLetsTalk.com, free membership, and I'll send you all kinds of materials on how to make contact, some evidence like what you've seen here of things we've done in the past and have captured, and links to find community around you, hopefully,
Mhm.
to meet up with. Also, our retreats are in Bloomington, Indiana from this year, from July 9th for 6 days and 9 nights, Sunday through Friday night, starting July 9th. And then in Joshua Tree, California, October 8th, Sunday through Friday for 6 days and nights. The retreats
Wow.
are very affordable. I make sure that they're only a fraction of what other similar retreats may offer and may ask for, because I want to make this accessible to everybody.
Very nice.
So I invite people to come join us at the retreats. You can get more information about those from etletstalk.com/retreats, RETREATS. And also, if you want to join the monthly virtual Skywatches that we do, or connections, worldwide connections that we do, it's etletstalk.com/GCE5, the numeral 5, GCE5.
And can they access all of that through your website?
Yeah, it's through the website.
Excellent. Excellent, just to keep it easy for the listeners. So this has been a lot of fun. It's been very enlightening. I was really looking forward to this. I know Amelia's she's under the weather. Amelia's my bubbly little compadre that usually sits across
Oh,
from me every
get well,
show.
Amelia. Get well.
Yes, get well, Amelia. Get yourself better for the next time Costa comes on. So I know she's just like, because she's a skittish one. So I really would have liked her to sit in on this because I know she would have had all kinds of questions. But thank you so much for joining me tonight and sharing all of your amazing experiences. And I'm going to wish you the absolute best on these experiences. I'm sure people are going to love it, and I hope you guys all go out there. Hold on, what is this? This is for you, Bloomington. Love it there. I use my alma mater. Cool. I go to the website. It's just right in there. Way to
Hope
go,
to see you
Carrie.
there, Carrie.
I know. Let's take one for the team, Carrie. Go and tell us all about it. But you will hear from me. I will connect up with you via email after the show. We're going to get a part 2 booked up. And I'm going to
Okay,
send you links and all that fun stuff.
good. Thank you very much for having me on.
It was a pleasure.
You're very easy to talk to,
Thank you.
relaxing,
Thank you.
and I want to hear more of your stories in the future too, because you're connected. And
Oh, I'm the life of the party, without a doubt. So, but yes, thank you. And I would love to share them with you.
okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Michelle, and thank you to everybody out there.
All right. Thank you, Kosta. I'll be in touch. Well, we have come to the end of another amazing segment here on the Outer Realm. That was super informative, and I love it. Everybody hears about the CE-5s, and there's some people that are skittish, some people not. I've been on the fence with it a lot, but I really enjoy the positive aspect about all of it. You'll hear me say it all the time. Just embrace it. It's not always something to be fearful of, except for ourselves. Anyway, big thank you to Kosta Makreas for joining us. We will be bringing him back on. I just love his energy, so we're definitely going to do it again. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, Justin Snicker, and Steve McGinnis. If you guys enjoy the show, please, whatever platform you're on, just show us some support, subscribe. Like, follow, share, comment, whatever the case may be, please do it. We would appreciate you doing that. And thank you. All people, y'all chiming in. And thank you so much. You guys in the chat room make it that much better. So thank you all for being here. Tomorrow night, okay, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one. We welcome Robert W. Sullivan IV, and he's going to be discussing his books, Cinema Symbolism. And that is just a start. We know we're going to be doing at least one more with him because it's just going to be amazing. So all those cute little Disney movies you see and such, no. We're going to learn all kinds of stuff tomorrow. Anyway, thank you all. Have a good night, and we shall see you tomorrow. And again, thanks to everybody in chat as well.